What are some of those pieces of evidence that you have personally found so compelling as a scientist to believe actually this couldn't have come about by chance?
Yeah, there's some neat ones. My favorite element in the periodic table is actually helium. It's the second lightest element. I like it because it's in helium balloons and they're fun. I like it because during my PhD, we used to have a cylinder of helium and you take a lungful. Don't do this at home, by the way. You take a lungful and your voice becomes like Donald Duck because the velocity of sound in helium is different from the velocity of sound in air. But it's a fun element. But here's where it comes into age of the Earth. Helium is effectively an alpha particle. Alpha radiation we've heard of when parent radioactive elements decompose or decay through alpha particle emission. An alpha particle is just a helium atom with no electrons. The alpha particle picks up a couple of electrons like that. It's really easy, and it becomes helium. Now, when this decay happens inside a rock, inside a mineral grain, that helium is trapped in there. Now, helium's a small element, and it diffuses. It leaks out very quickly, which is why your helium balloon has got metal coating on the inside, because if it was just a normal rubber balloon, it'd be flat in no time at all. So helium leaks out quickly. Now, you can calculate how fast the helium, or in fact, you can measure how fast the helium leaks out of the mineral grain, and you can calculate how much helium should have formed in there because you've got the daughter elements that led to it. And you find in these mineral grains, there's miles too much helium. All of the helium should have leaked out over the millions and billions of years, but most of it is still there. And so, what do you infer? The mineral grain must be
Much
young.
younger.
But if I have a different paradigm, I'll say there must be a process I don't understand because clearly the mineral grain is old. Therefore, there's some way that the helium's still in there. It leaked in. That's been proven not to be correct. There must be slower leakage back in history. That's a wild assumption, unsubstantiated. There are no explanations for this other than the helium shows this must be a young mineral grain, not millions of years old. So that was one neat piece of evidence that I really liked.
What's another piece of evidence that you have personally found compelling?
All the molecules that I've ever built fall apart if I don't put them in the right environment. And I'm talking about some pretty simple molecules. So they fall apart. So precursors to living organisms, unless you preserve them in a careful way, they disintegrate. Another neat one is something called chirality or optical activity. Now, let me explain that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I've got a left hand and I've got a right hand. I've got thumb, index finger, all the way through to my little finger. So they're not identical though. They're mirror images of each other. I cannot put one hand on top of the other, superimpose them exactly because it's the wrong order. I can superimpose them when they're mirror images. Now, a lot of biological molecules come in left hand and right hand. So, for instance, the proteins in our body, the amino acids in our body are left-handed exclusively amino acids. But when I make an amino acid in a laboratory, starting from simpler molecules, I end up with a 50-50 mixture of left and right. So how on earth did biological systems only come to be comprised of only the left-handed? That doesn't make sense. And if I get a soup, even starting with all left-handed, over time, and it doesn't take very long, it starts decomposing, converting into some right-handed. And before you know it, you've got quite a lot of right-handed ones as well as left-handed ones. And if I take a peptide, a lot of amino acids strung together, and I substitute one of the left-handed ones for a right-handed one, I'm going to damage its function. And often the damage to the function is sufficient to kill the organism. So it's just, I don't even know how to put it into words. It's a fairy tale to believe this happened by accident, that these unstable molecules formed equal mixture, then you only got the left-handed ones, and they all survived, and it didn't revert. I mean, I'm sorry, it's too big a construct for me. It takes more faith to believe in a natural origin of life than for a designer.
If you've enjoyed watching this, you're going to want to check out Creation Magazine. You can sign up for it with a link in the description for this video, and we will send you a free gift.